This is tradingview.com. This is what their prices are right now. They have a special, so the prices don't normally look like this, but they have an essential plan, a plus plan, and a premium plan. And these are the benefits of each plan. I personally recommend starting out with the essential plan. You could always move up if you'd like. The biggest issue that I have with the essential plan is you can only do 2 charts per tab, meaning you can only have 2 charts up on one screen, and you only have 20 price alerts, whereas the plus, you can have 4 charts on one screen. As you can see in the little demonstration here, it'll show you how it has like multiple charts. And you can also have 100 price alerts going. In the beginning, you probably won't have 100 price alerts going, so the essentials should work out just fine. But this is what you're going to need to be able to chart all of your stock charts, and anything else that you trade really can be found on TradingView. So up here, we're going to go to the SPY symbol. So I'm just going to type in SPY. The SPY stands for the S&P 500 Trust. This is the smaller version of the big S&P 500. So right now I'm going to delete all the things on my chart so that we can do this together. All right, so I have taken off all the markings on my chart, and this is what a clean SPY chart looks like. So that you do not lose track of this chart, I do recommend you going up to the top right corner and then hovering over the name of the chart. Not the top part, but right here, and a little flag symbol will pull up, and then you have to click it to change the color on it. So you could just pick whatever color you like, but when you go to search for these charts, you'll see just by me typing in SPY, there's a bunch of different SPY charts. So to keep track of the one that you are working on and that you have marked up, you want to go ahead and flag it. That flag will also show up on the mobile version as well, so you can find your chart easily on there. So that's a little tip. Now, these are the candle time frames. So we have the 10-minute, the 15-minute, the 1 hour, the 4 hour, and the daily candle. These are the time frames that I have favorited. These are the ones that I prefer. You can click on this drop down and you can favorite yours as well just by hovering and clicking on the star symbol. But I recommend having the 10-minute, 15-minute, 1 hour, 4 hour, and 1 day favorited. These are the ones that I use the most. And that just means that every single, right now I have it on a daily. So that means if I zoom in, every single candle represents one entire day in the market. The daily gives me a very wide view. I like using this to be able to do my initial markings and also just keep track of the overall trend and direction of the market. I will zoom out to the daily. You want to start out on the daily candle because we are going to be adding our all-time high and our all-time low beam. So down here on the side screen, it's usually on the brush tool, but it's the geometric shapes tab. You're going to click on that and then scroll down to rectangle. Click on rectangle, make sure it's on rectangle, and this is where we're going to drag and create our own rectangle on the screen. And this is going to act as our support and resistance. So right now, I'm just dragging this based off of what I'm seeing. I recommend you putting an all-time high and an all-time low beam on the chart. Where is the lowest area that price has bounced off of significantly in recent years? And it doesn't have to be super recent. So with this beam that I just drew, it looks good because we have it bouncing here, here, and here, a good 3 times, actually 4. However, this was in 2014 and 2015. We have not touched this price since the beginning of 2016. So this price is very unlikely to hold any weight in recent times. It's very unlikely that we'll come all the way down to 180 again. We haven't been there since 2016. So you want to make sure that your all-time low is representing a price that is realistically recent. So I'm going to put this here actually. This beam showcases the 2020 high, then we dropped, right? So we can clone this by right clicking and we can drag this down towards the bottom of the drop. But initially what I was looking at is here, once we chopped and came back down and retested this, this was in November 2020. And then we came back and retested this area again in October 2022. And we haven't reached it since, but that was only 2 years ago. So I think that this is a good beam to have on there. And then we can have this one down here at the bottom as well, even though it's very unlikely for price to come to it. This is the next big support zone. So what I'm looking at is, let me put it on the brush tool. We have price being resisted constantly right here at this 209, 210, all through 2015, and then here all through 2016, trailblazing through it for 2017, and then acting as support. Came back and retested it in 2018, and then this is where we actually found support during the 2020 pandemic crash. So this beam acted as resistance and support for many, many years. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to change the color of this to red, because this showcases an all-time low for prior years. And I'm going to turn this one kind of a lighter red, because it showcases its own all-time low in more recent years. All right, so those are my two bottom beams that I'm going to put on there. This is the daily candle. So this shows a lot of data. From here to here is an entire 4 years. So this shows a lot of data. Now we can start zooming in, and actually let's stay zoomed out for a moment and let's go ahead and do the all-time high beam. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to clone this so I have the same size. We are currently breaching all-time highs. So we have currently breached it. What that means is when I place my beam there, we can see that we created a double top in July and also in August. And now it's September and we have breached it and we are just trailblazing above it. So this was all-time high. Now it's not. So I'm going to click on that and I'm going to make this purple. That's the color that I like to make my all-time high beams. All right, so we have those beams there. Now for the center beam, I want to make that gray, but first I'm going to just clone this and place it first. Now the center beam is another area of support for price in recent time, but it may not be the lowest of the low, maybe somewhere in the center. So if I just kind of put this here and drag it up just a little bit, and I'm going to turn this gray before I explain why I placed it there. All right, so I placed this beam here because resistance at the top of the beam, resistance at the bottom of the beam, resistance at the bottom of the beam, and that was all in 2022. More resistance at the bottom of the beam once we came back up and retested it in 2023. Finally broke through it the beginning of 2024, and ever since then it can now act as support if we come back down to it. So this is a great area to mark up on your chart. All right, so now when we zoom out, we see that we just have 4 beams on the chart. Don't do too many with the beams. You want them to be major areas of support and resistance. So just keep it, 4 or 5 max when we're looking on the daily.